Get ready for a mind-blowing journey through Arthur Hayes' vision at Bitcoin 2025 in Las Vegas. He is the former BitMEX CEO, and he is going to break down why we will see a $1 million Bitcoin price. You've heard him mention that before, by 2028. But he is going to explain essentially all the steps that it takes to get there. And again, it is already underway.
Same game. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going to happen over the next, I think, 3 years, and why the amount of money printing that's going to happen between now and 2028 is going to dwarf what we saw during the 2020 to 2022 COVID period. So
stay tuned.
Bitcoin is booming. Are you cashing in or missing out? At Drip2 BTC, we're rewriting the rules of Bitcoin investing. Earn up to 30% ROI on your deposits, unlock incredible Bitcoin discounts, and transform credit into up to 3,000% APR growth. No hassle, just real results. Don't wait, your future is one deposit away. Drip2BTC.com. Invest smart today.
Hey guys, welcome back. Drip Coach here with Drip and Farm for Poverty, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. So Arthur is definitely vocal, and I believe he was pardoned by Trump in this last cycle as well. And he's been making a lot more talks and stuff this year. I think he was previously on house arrest, waiting for all that stuff, and then it was the case was dropped with BitMEX. But he is an OG in the space for sure, and keeps a good pulse on what's happening. So that statement about us seeing more money printing in the next 3 years than what we saw during COVID is insane. So let's break down where he's getting that from, so that we can, make the decisions on our own and follow. This clip is going to be similar to what Jack Mahler's mentioned about Scott Bessent's role as a bonds salesman, and that's where this $1 million price tag for 2028 starts to get kicked off. And it's again because there is no other option, no other way to get out of this.
always be closing. So what's Scott Bessent's job? So every time you see him on TV, imagine he's a used car salesman and he's selling you something. What is he selling you? Bonds. His job is to sell bonds. His job is to sell bonds because his boss, the US government, needs to finance itself. So why are bonds shitty investments? Well, here in yellow, this is a chart of the total amount of US Treasury debt, and I started it in 2017. And what you can see here is it's indexed at 100, and the supply of debt has gone up by about 80%. And then I index this against the TLT, which is the ETF of long-term bond treasuries, divided by the NASDAQ 100. And so if the chart's going down, that means the NASDAQ is outperforming bonds. And so the outperformance of the NASDAQ is about 80% from 2017 until the present. So yes, you might have made money owning bonds on your coupon, but if you put your money in the stock market, you would have made 80% more. Okay, let's look at the same chart versus gold. Similar story. If you had not owned a US Treasury bond and bought gold instead, you would have outperformed by about 80%. Now, obviously, this is not a gold or stock conference. We're here to talk about fucking Bitcoin. So what is this performance versus Bitcoin? And it's even more dramatic. It's about like 99%. You have outperformed by buying Bitcoin versus buying bonds. And so
So that is extremely telling. So what that tells anybody who's got large amounts of capital, like other countries, Japan, China, it's like, yeah, why are we going to put our money into treasury bonds? Let's instead put it in NASDAQ, or put it in gold, or put it in Bitcoin. So that means, as he mentioned, Scott Bessent, being a bond salesman, has a tough job to do because nobody wants to buy that. So the US has to create new incentives. Remember, we do not make enough money to support ourselves. We are a failed business, or failing business. So if your business is not able to generate enough profit to pay for the expenses, then you have to get debt. You have to borrow. And nobody wants to loan us any money. Because why? It's like he pointed out here and in the charts. Because that money, i.e. buying bonds, is better suited for the person lending it to put it somewhere else to earn more interest yield on that. So putting in the S&P or Bitcoin or gold, right? So because we have this debt spiral and there's currently no incentive for other countries to purchase the bonds, US is looking at different solutions.
And recently, Scott Besson has gone on a media tour and talked about how he's focused on growth. He's all in on growth. And so what does that mean if you're running a massive deficit? That means that you need to get nominal GDP above your cost of interest, which is very difficult to do unless you're going to up the amount of credit in the economy. So a lot of you in this room are American or spend a lot of time in North America. I have lived most of my adult life in Greater China. And when you live in China, you understand that GDP or growth is just an output of how much credit you want to put into the economy. And so we want to understand what the Trump administration, and I think any administration would do given these mathematical facts. We have to understand that this economy depends on credit. And so if you're willing to put more credit into the system, then you'll get any growth target that you want. So if Besson says they want 6 or 7% nominal GDP growth, great. How much credit are you going to create? And we want to know how much credit they're going to create because ultimately that is what leads to Bitcoin outperforming every other asset in fiat terms.
And that ties into the last video I made about the supplemental leverage ratio, which Arthur's going to go into as well, but I don't want to play that clip shorter. But essentially, they will do any and everything they can to kick the can down the road. And that just means, again, injecting more capital, adding more debt, adding more leverage, whatever the case may be, because there is no other alternative. They have to do something because defaulting on the debt is not an option. And they don't have any other tools in the tool chest besides debasing the currency and adding more debt. That's it. Which means if you hold Bitcoin, you can benefit.
And so here are the fucking maths. Where do I get this idea that Bitcoin could hit $1 million? So if we think about QE for poor people, banks lending more into the real economy, I estimate that could be up to $3 trillion of bank credit that'll be created between now and 2028. The statistic to look for is on the weekly Federal Reserve balance sheet, other deposits and liabilities. We'll see that happening there. If the banks are allowed to buy treasury bonds, it's estimated that $900 billion of foreign demand can evaporate. And that has to be replaced by commercial banks who now can buy these treasuries with infinite leverage. And finally, let's free Fannie and Freddie and bring $5 trillion of liquidity to the markets, which gets us close to $9 trillion printed or between now and 2028. And let's put this into context. During COVID, the COVID stimulus programs and all the aid that was given to the financial sector within the United States totaled about $4 trillion. And from the lows of March of 2020 to 70,000 in 2021 in November, we went up about 10x. Remember, price is set on the margin. It matters about the marginal price, not the whole stock. And so if we have less Bitcoin on exchanges due to ETF demand, and we're printing double the amount of money between now and 2028 than what we did till COVID, then Bitcoin $1 million is just easy. Thank you very much. Hope to see you all at our party tonight.
Kind of glossed over that, but I want to point that out because, like he said, it's set on the margin. So we had 4 trillion printed during COVID, and he's estimating 9 trillion roughly being printed this time. But the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges, unfortunately, we can't go back to 2021 time frame, but we could assume or deduce that it was definitely higher than this. So this is June 2023. You have to go back 2.5 more years, probably closer to 4 million on exchanges. And now we're sitting at just about 2 million. So twice the amount of demand. Twice the amount of liquidity being injected and half the supply available, which would actually make sense. Yeah, we had the halving since then. That doesn't directly affect the amount on exchanges, but as more and more gets bought up, there's less and less being put out. They do have some correlation. So yeah, it's just maths, or as Arthur put it, just fucking maths, because there is no other option for Bitcoin. It has number go up technology, as we heard Saifedean Amos say in the last video. So all of this, yeah, to me, makes a lot of sense. I didn't do the actual math to see if that's $1 million, but we know that it is up and to the right in the long term. So even if you're looking at it right now and feeling a little bit bearish due to what's going on in the markets, I think there was a recent tweet or truth from Trump about tariffs again. And that has caused some corrections. You have Bitcoin down about 5%, sitting at on today about 104,000. Those are just buying opportunities. So I understand that now. I did not understand that the last cycle when I was chasing shitcoins, but now every time Bitcoin dips, I'm actually excited because it just lowers my dollar cost average price. So I'm happy if it chops sideways for a little bit or slowly crawls its way up, because that gives me more of an opportunity to buy. So it's like, do the math. Right now, $1,000 can only buy you 0.01 Bitcoin. If that jumps up to 500,000 or 1 million, you're getting less satoshis. So you want to be able to accumulate as much as possible with more fiat, and the faster that it jumps up, that's your day can be able to accumulate. So I'm personally feeling good about this, and what Arthur said for the future makes sense. And again, 2028, because of that is the next election cycle. We have no idea what'll happen before or after that, how things will be affected in regards to money printing or whatever. But if they do print this amount, then that just clearly puts the debt spiral even that much more into overdrive. And then the next cycle and the following cycle is just going to mean Bitcoin goes up even more as fiat continues to get debased. So nothing stops this train. All right, smash that HBO special. Help a brother out. Like, subscribe, comment down below. And until next time, live daily and achieve your